and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard, and at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
You know, when I think about you, I touch myself.
Don't you have to go to confession after that?
No, I'm a lapsed Catholic. I don't have to have confession.
Oh, confession never made a lot of sense
Now,
to me.
bless me, Father, if I have sinned. My last confession was a couple decades ago. Let's see, I've bad words and covet and touch and bad and covet, Father, heavy on the covet.
Any of the 10 commandments you've broken lately?
What do you think, I'm Trump? I just don't sit there with it on the dartboard. What am I going to take care of today?
That's what I did. That's what I did Sunday.
You adulterated?
No, I said, hey, kids, on my Facebook page, hey, I have the rest of the day off and I sleep in my own bed tonight. Which of the 7 deadly sins should I indulge in?
And which ones did you indulge in?
Well, I'm proud to be a glutton, and I don't have time for sloth. I'm greedy and I'm angry, and I don't care who I cross.
I'm just at a loss. It beats some of the other ones. Like I was watching on Facebook how Terry Beatty wrote about, I think I might have to give up my nerd creds, and he listed a bunch of things he's just not interested in.
I did that too.
The second and third Doctor, he does not care. It was just interesting watching everybody like, I agree with it, I don't agree with it. And I'm like, I don't understand why that would take away your geek creds. First of all, having geek creds isn't that big a selling point, unless you're among fellow geeks. And the other thing, too, is it's not as if he's actively going, well, every doctor outside this third Doctor sucks. Or nobody cares anything after the Baker Doctor. He's not doing that, nor is he gleefully reveling in the fact, like some people who used to shop at my store. I've never seen Star Wars. Oh, I can borrow it. No, I never want to. That's kind of a conversation killer, isn't it? It's one thing if you, there's tons of properties out there that, I may like. Like when you and I talk about Harry Potter. I think if you ever read the book, and not necessarily the movie, but if you read it, you may enjoy it. But it just doesn't interest you. Just like my never-ending quest to try to get my wife to watch Babylon 5. Compared to some of the dreck she watches on Netflix, I'm like, this is worlds beyond what you do. And I've even offered to okay, just skip the first season. There's like maybe 3 episodes you need to watch, and then we move on to the second season. And if she really cares, we can go back in the second. Just like if you were to have somebody watch Star Trek Next Generation, skip the first season. Maybe the last couple episodes, where the Romulans come back, but other than that, just skip.
Burn it all down.
No, that one, I do get a kick out of the one where they have the planet where women rule, and they have Riker gets all dressed up, so he has to go get seduced by the ruler of the planet, who happened to be, fitness guru Terry Austin, who I'm like, hey, boy, I tell you, damn it, I should have been an actor. But the best part was when he had his outfit on, he had the little ring on, and half of his chest is showing, and Troy and Yar are just giving him, oh, look at you, just the most sexist stuff. And of course, the best part is when the little boy comes to, the servant comes to bring him in. Just the jealous look he gives Riker. But I'm not one to sit there and say, hey, just because you think the best Star Trek is Kirk and Spock, and you're not willing to try anything else, I don't think less of you. Well, I do. But you got limited time. You got to deal with what you like.
Joe, I have a confession.
And the thing is, confession?
Yeah. So,
not even Catholic.
Can you get ready to take my confession?
Hang on a second. sort of a Trojan. On your knees, lad. Do you recognize what I'm holding over your head?
No, because you're in St. Paul.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a cross. It's a symbol of universe into active and passive principles. Oh, God have mercy on my heathen souls. Anyways, okay, go ahead.
Joe, I want to confess that if somebody out there says that Star Trek V is their favorite Star Trek movie, I really think that they should be kept inside and probably away from civilization because they're just not right.
That's not right. You're not right in the head. Now, see, the reason I mention this is because there are guys at work that are really big on Marvel movies, and they just have no interest in seeing the Black Panther, which I really don't get. And I guess I understand. I mean, I never saw Ant-Man. I never saw the second Hulk. Never saw Iron Man 3. Never saw Spider-Man 3. I never saw, what was it? There were 3 Spider-Man, then they rebooted it for 2, right?
Yeah.
I never saw the third one that Tobey Maguire is, and I never saw the next 2. Just no interest. I never saw the last Star Trek in the movies. Was it?
Yeah. Ugh.
Well, the thing was when I watched it, it was a good episode. It wasn't a good movie, but
it was like a terrible movie.
It was okay. It actually, and maybe I'm looking at it because it went. The one reason I read it is because as I was reading the Star Trek books back when they were interconnected and I could track what was going on, they all referred to what happened in the movie, and that's what sprung the paperbacks out. So eventually, when I went back to see the movie, it was like, oh, okay, now I understand what's going on. So again, I'm looking through it with different eyes. But when it came out, I didn't bother seeing it in the theater.
Well, it did come out the same week as a little movie called Fellowship of the Ring.
I didn't even see the third Lord of the Rings trilogy until Return of the King, until I was stuck in Wolf Point, Montana on the road, and I had a Christmas out. I talked about it. I had all 3 of the extended seasons from Best Buy, or I should say extended movies, and I started them at like 7 a.m., took a break to do a Skype Christmas, and kept going all the way through 11 p.m. By the time I got to the end of that last extended movie, I felt like I had been on the trek with those guys.
So a Skype Christmas, is that anything like Star Wars Holiday Special?
No, this one was actually enjoyable.
Or a Donnie and Marie Christmas?
Well, Marie was pretty hot.
Or a Paul Lynde Christmas Special?
Oh, now you're just getting catty. Yeah.
I have a rumor, Joe. A rumor. And I know you have not heard this rumor, but both Dan DiDio and CB Cebulski have been twittering about a possible crossover between the Justice League and the Avengers.
Actually, I did see that.
Oh.
And that was something that if we ever get to the point where we're going to sit down and give away $1 million ideas, I'm like, Marvel, DC, you need to make a crossover. I'm not talking a standalone one-shots, which are fun, but I'm talking a year-long, I don't know if you want to make it a parallel series, here's Marvel, here's DC, but just crossover, and just go for it. You've got enough super villains that, somehow they could get the universe together. You got all access. Matter of fact, you can start saying that guy died. By him, that's what started the whole DC versus Marvel mess, is the original guy who was doing it kept keeping the universes apart, passed away, and his son wanted nothing to do with it until it was too late. But say something happens to him, he's discovered. I'm trying to think of who would you say is the most powerful being in DC and Marvel?
Let's see. DC.
I can tell you who Marvel is, and you probably won't like it.
Well, I know who it is at Marvel, the one above all.
Oh, but he's not in the universe. He's above it all.
No, he's in the universe.
He's above it all.
Joe, you
he's
haven't,
in the. He's in the. I've read it.
You haven't
read
read the
He's
Ultimates.
He's in the. Okay, if he wants to come down, that's fine.
He did.
But the point being is, he's not one to just fuck up a universe. Although when Thanos approached him, he was kind of. I guess he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, but DC, I would have said the Anti-Monitor before they turned him into just a jamoke.
See, and for me, I would have gone with the Beyonder. Mainly it's because I'm still trying to trek through that Secret Wars omnibus. But they've established that he's still around. Even though we have not seen hide nor hair of him since.
Yeah, he was mentioned in the new Secret Wars.
But he never really.
Kind of a, oh, he's not here right now thing.
Yeah. And I know they kind of said in the Illuminati he was out like around the, if I read it right, he was out somewhere in the Jupiter belt, whatever, making his own earthly planet. And they tried to convince him to go away, and he did. And as soon as the guys left, he popped up and said, well, I got rid of those guys. Now let's go back to playing with my world. And, they tried to get rid of him in Fantastic Four, but so, those would be the characters. I like the Anti-Monitor. You could say the original one came back the very next day. But anyways, so somehow they kill this direct access guy. I don't even know his name is because, again, talking about series that don't hold up well over time.
Oh, yeah.
And because he's no longer there, that makes the universes meld or whatever, or crossover or whatever. It's just a fanboy thing. But it could be, all I'm saying is make something that's in continuity with lasting ramifications. You always have, every time a crisis shows up, especially DC, they have a list of about 300 characters that they could kill. Marvel less so. So do that. Say we're going to have a secret crisis. Hey, look at that. I just gave them the name. And just do something that's in continuity. You want to make sales go through the fucking roof. Are you kidding? The variant covers alone will put you into the black forever.
Here's my question, Joe.
Okay.
Who would you have be the creators? And it's got to be people who are working at Marvel and DC now.
See, the problem is I don't know who's working at Marvel anymore because they have that big legacy thing coming, and we're just waiting with bated breath to see who's coming. On the other side, I would definitely start with Bendis. If he's interested, he may not want to, he may want to be just like, hey, I want to get Superman off the ground. But then again, if they're talking now, this could be something that both companies could be planning for to hit like in 3 or 4 years. You and I often talk about, Hitchman's run, where he was laying the seeds for what happened in Secret Wars years before it hit. I talk about Simonson when he did his Time Variance Authority run. It was in Thor, it was in Fantastic Four, and Avengers. That type of thing where you could just lay it down. I'll give you a guy you could use. Use that the money in the bank guy that I always talk about, the unnameable one from Defenders. Last seen in trapped in a brain cell in the Hulk's head. That would be a good Marvel villain to start with. Just like when Final Crisis came around, who did he pull out? How do you say his name? Liberia? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, just someone out of the blue. I mean, he just had a one or two shot appearance in Justice League, and he came back, and it's like, well, he had a little bit more behind him than just, when you read the original run, he was pretty powerful before I don't remember if the heroes crossed him up or if he screwed himself up and became, I'm too big to one with the universe. But, pull characters like that out of your continuity. First of all, it'll drive back issue people insane. Because they're like, oh my God, first appearance, we got to find it. And second, it'll be just something fun for us old guys, and you can even, I don't know, bring back the Amalgam Universe as one of the multiverse universes. I mean, DC has only got 52. Marvel's got however many they want. So, that comes back to things like we talk about, characters that are really cool we'd like to see again, but they're either tied into an alternate timeline, or they're in the past, or they're in the future, and we just can't use them. And if finally if they come around, I've been enjoying Old Man Logan in the Marvel universe. I don't care if the regular Logan's running around, And DC, they have tons of characters you stop and you think of, and you're kind of curious, will they ever use them again? I'm not talking like Watchmen use them, where it's like, well, Alan Moore ain't going to use them, we're going to use them. But I saw Neil Gaiman is gearing up, going to do a Sandman universe under his auspices. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to work. That got my attention over the weekend.
See, when I was thinking about who would do an Avengers JLA crossover, here's the creative team that I thought of. Writer Mark Waid. Much like Kurt Busiek, he knows the continuity backward, forward, and upside down.
He does, very much. Well, you got him on the Avengers side, or you did.
Yep, he's. They announced the book he's moving to, Joe.
Which is?
Doctor Strange.
Okay, guess I'm going to keep that one on the list.
Artist, I would go with Jim Lee, because there's very few artists who've worked at both companies and are somebody who can drive sales.
Are you going to seriously, do you want this thing out on time, or are we going to put a few businesses out of business because, issue 10 is coming out in 10 months?
Basically, I would have him step aside from his vice presidential stuff, because they need to do something to kick sales up. And if you look back at the sales charts, one of the things that kicked sales into high gear in the 2000s was JLA Avengers. That was really one of the things. There was that, and then that started DC on their moving toward Infinite Crisis, and Marvel moving toward Civil War. And you can actually see the charts, the month-by-month sales overall going up those months. It kind of drew people back. Inking, I would go with a Marvel or a DC inker, just go back and forth picking. And it doesn't even have to be somebody who's known for inking, but somebody who does it well. Like Leno Francis Yu, who does a lot of stuff at Marvel. I'd love to see him inking Jim Lee's work. And then over at DC, pick somebody there. And I would, with Avengers JLA, they did a 4-issue prestige. I like the idea of pretty much using the same format as Dark Knight 3. Squeeze as much money as you can out of this, because if they do it right, and if Jim Lee pencils it, this will draw people back into comic shops.
Yeah, but that's just a one-shot. What I'm looking
at
is
something... Do a 12-issue story.
I got zero faith that they'll be able to put something like that out on time. And that's one thing you do not want to do with something like this, is to...
Shall I remind you of how late Avengers versus JLA 4 was?
You can do it. That's what I'm saying. You don't want to do something that's going to hurt the sales or hurt the retailers. So I still like the idea of having it bleed into the regular titles. I mean, that would get some excitement going.
I was looking up the character of Access. Other than the crossover series, he only showed up in one comic. And that was Green Lantern 87. He was supposed to be a character that was shared by Marvel and DC. Marvel never used him.
No,
DC used him.
They kind of put a
But
kibosh
Marvel was
on.
like, no.
Yeah. So you have the mechanism to make it happen, and you can do it in the continuity, as opposed to just make it, the JLA Avengers is awesome, but it has no bearing on anything in reality. Or, if you want to make it that way, as soon as they meet, you're like, oh, we all remember. Why do they remember? Because, Access was keeping it apart, so no one would remember. Without his influence, that's what starts the whole Secret Crisis. That's what I'm going to call it, the Secret Crisis.
I think that'd be a cool title, to be honest.
And what I would like to see is at the end, leave it open. Somebody, and I don't know if this was a creator or just another fan, said, it'd be cool to have yearly meetings of the JLA and
The Avengers, yeah.
the Avengers. I also think it would be cool if, and I said this years ago on the podcast, have somebody from one universe stay in the other universe for a while. You know, it's like, oh shit, I got trapped in this universe and I'm stuck here until next year.
Now, when they did the Marvel versus DC, and then they did the 2 miniseries afterward, there was always a rumor that they were going to do that. And I heard a bunch of different characters, but it never happened. But there was always that rumor that they had worked out an agreement that a character from each universe would stay in the other. And then at the next crossover, they would go home.
Yeah.
But I think the
I'm always
logistics
for
of that, then again, we may not have to worry about it at all. You know why, Joe?
Why is that?
Disney might buy up everything.
Yeah, I heard that too. The talking about Time Warner maybe spinning off its content properties. I don't see. I mean, as much as the fanboy in me would die to see Disney buy it up, I doubt that would pass antitrust mustard. I could see
Joe,
Comcast picking it up.
Joe, when was the last antitrust?
Well, according to what's going on now, the Justice Department's jumping up and down all over AT&T Time Warner.
Yeah,
even
you know why that
Disney,
is.
Yeah, I know why that is, and they're letting Disney Fox slide.
Yeah.
But I'm just
and
saying.
You know why that is.
I'm saying they may. You know, I could see Comcast jumping in because Comcast bought DreamWorks and all its associated properties, and I could see them raising a stink, saying, "Hey, we can't let this happen." Not to mention, I would start to think cable companies would start to get very nervous. And McMahon might pay it up and go, "Hey, I got a wrestling company for sale."
Well, if we want to talk about that, one of the things I'm noticing when I look at WWE's business practices, they are cutting costs like you can't believe.
Uh-oh.
And in a couple of the last investor calls, people have said, hey, you guys are making more money than ever. The stock is going up. Are you for sale? And Vince said, we will listen to any reasonable offer.
Interesting.
Now, one of the things that's also happening is, their TV rights deal is up this year. And executives from Fox have been dropping by SmackDown and Raw, just kind of dropping by to say hi. Well, that's kind of what happened with UFC years ago. They got bought up. They kept Dana White in charge, but they got bought for a few $1 billion. I could see some company looking and going, look at all the content they've got. Look at how well their streaming service does. Their shows get 2 to 3 million people. Yes, that's down from 20 years ago, but it's not down as much as everything else is.
Well, and they're going to have a lot of money to spend if the Fox Disney deal goes through.
Mm-hmm.
And they're keeping, remember, the Fox News and the Fox Sports. And WWE could probably niche right into Fox Sports very easily.
Well, and UFC is also, their contract is up this year. And there are rumors that they might jump somewhere if they get a better deal. I could see both things happening. I could see USA, which is owned by Comcast, saying, no, we're not going to let you go, and paying Vince a hell of a lot more money. Or I could see Fox saying, well, either A, we're losing UFC and we need something to take its place, or B, we've got UFC and WWE works really well with it. Because quite honestly, they've started Fox Sports 1, but they don't have much to show on it. They've got UFC and UFC and UFC, and they laid out a hell of a lot of money for the Thursday night football game. I could see them laying a hell of a lot of money on the line to get Vince McMahon and his 3 million people.
Well, like I said before, they got money to burn.
And they also might just go to Vince and go, well, rather than give you a TV contract, we'll just buy you. this is going to be a very interesting year because with Warner Brothers and DC up for sale, remember back in '84, Warner went to Marvel and said, we'd like to license you the DC Comics characters in perpetuity. And eventually the lawyers said, well, we're already getting this monopoly lawsuit from First. We're going to back away. But they'd already started work on it. That's where a lot of the Frank Miller stuff for Batman came from. It's where a lot of Man of Steel came from. We could see a very, very different landscape in all of entertainment by the end of the year. And can you imagine, you're already, Fox is just announcing X-Men spinoffs right and left. And Marvel's not saying boo. I could see Marvel and DC, they can't find anybody to run their extended universe. Give it to Kevin Feige.
Sure, why not?
So there's that rumor out there.
And if not, we will spread it.
Yeah, but no, these are just rumors. Just rumors. Another thing, I finally got a little more detail. Joe, do you remember back in the late 70s, and Jim Shooter and Stan Lee were talking about it all the time, that there was going to be a Silver Surfer movie?
I do, actually. I remember seeing that, like in Comic Scene magazine, and might have even been some in Marvel Age.
Not in Marvel Age, but in the Marvel Bullpen Bulletins. Every so often, Stan would go, the Silver Surfer movie, it's moving forward.
It's a coming.
Well, I've learned some more information about it lately because, I read all these websites where they dig through stuff, and somebody got their hands on a letter Paul McCartney wrote to the producer that had bought the rights to the Silver Surfer movie. And he wanted to do the soundtrack. Not just the songs, he wanted to do the full soundtrack. So, and it's really weird to read it because it's, just a short typewritten letter. I've heard that you've got the rights to the Silver Surfer.
I remember seeing that. Where the hell did I see that?
I don't remember where I saw it, but I remember reading the letter and going...
It was in a back issue.
Oh.
A recent back issue, because I remember seeing that letter that somebody had produced.
And it's just, I'd really like to do it. Well, I've dug a little more into it. First off, the Silver Surfer graphic novel that was done by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby was their treatment. It was basically, they said, okay, here's how you can do the Silver Surfer without the Fantastic Four, so they could take it into meetings and go, here's your story. And that's when... it was turned into a script, and then it was, how scripts go. It's like, oh, okay, well, we'll take pieces of this one for the next one, and pieces of this for the next one. And after a while, it was all gone. But have you read that graphic novel, Joe?
I have in the past, yeah.
Okay, remember the girl that the Silver Surfer falls in love with?
Mm-hmm.
She was going to be played by Olivia Newton-John because the producer was Olivia Newton-John's boyfriend. And they were going to make it a musical. It was going to be a rock musical.
I can see that.
Well, they've done rock musicals like Quadrophenia and Tommy and Phantom of the Paradise.
I only mentioned that because it was a Marvel Super Special.
Well, the thing that killed it was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band bombing so bad that it's like, no more rock musicals. The Wall did okay, but they didn't expect The Wall to make any money. It was like, we're making this for the midnight movie stoners. But when Sgt. Pepper took a big old shit, they're like, I think we're done here. Boy, we're just tooling along, Joe. I got a question for you. You're the collector of the two of us. You know the collector market. You know how to invest in funny books. So I have a question.
I would dispute that, but go on.
Well, you know more about investing in funny books than I do because you ran a shop. But you know how there's the misprint in the New Gods Omnibus?
Omnibus, yeah.
Now, what DC has done is they sent out the page that's missing. They said you can print this out and drop it right in your omnibus, or we will be reprinting, and you can get a new copy. So all you need to do is rip off the front cover of the hardcover and send it in, because there needs to be proof that it was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll send you a new one. So, Joe, as an investor, should I keep this misprint on the assumption that because it's a misprint, it will go up in value? Or
did you get the page?
Yeah. Well,
so they'll send you the page regardless.
Oh, the page is you can download it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you print it yourself.
Oh.
But
question being, will this omnibus be available otherwise?
Yes, you can buy a new copy, I believe.
Interesting.
So, Joe?
Hard to say, because we don't know the print run. I mean, did you make enough omnibus to replace all the defective ones, plus a few more?
Or
yes. Did they just make enough to, cover, knowing that people like you are not going to necessarily return it to get a new one?
Well, and they also need them for the warehouse, so I bet that all of the ones that are in the warehouse that had not sold yet were pulped.
Yeah.
So it sold a little over 1,100 copies through Diamond. That doesn't count, through Amazon, and if any of them sold through other bookstores.
All right, let me look a few things up.
Now, the other thing is, if I do rip off the cover, would anybody want that version of it just to read?
Oh, I would. I'm just looking online of error copies, and most of the error copies I see have a nominal value. There's like the Sandman 19 that had an error edition. There's every so often you'll hear of books that have a double cover, and of course the older it is, the more expensive it would be. Like someone's got a Batman 226, which has a Neil Adams double art cover for like $150.
But how much is the regular version?
Probably like $20.
A Neil Adams Batman from the early 70s? No, it's going to be worth more than that.
I'm not looking up that. I'm just looking for error.
Oh.
Because that's your key. I mean, remember the Venom error cover where it was just misprinted? And that one, still is very, very expensive. It's hard to say. I don't see a lot of books on the error run. Matter of fact, I see, just looking, money has a value, and I'm trying to find, there's even some records that have been mislabeled.
Oh, well, yeah, the most famous one is the Beatles Yesterday and Today.
Well, that wasn't necessarily an error, but that was a recall because everybody got aghast. How dare they? Here's an All-Star Comics 71 error copy. That's $125, 9.6. Stamps are big on errors.
Yeah, you can't really slab this book, can you?
Not particularly. And I don't see a lot of books that have errors in them, because I think most of them get either pulped or they wind up at the places like the Axeman where you wouldn't expect it.
Well, I remember the Captain America reprint from the early 90s where the colorist drew a penis on Bucky, but they never corrected that.
Well, there's a whole website with that stuff. You
Yeah.
know, let's see. Let's look up just a regular copy of Batman. Batman number 266. About $35. 40, 50 and for 50 and fine. Then you start getting graded ones after that. Signed ones. So yeah, again, error market's kind of different, and I don't see any books or graphic novels with errors. I think generally there probably isn't much of a value to it, and I would suspect, since there's already an omnibus already. Let's take a look here. What's the name of that one?
I want to get the official because.
Yeah, that's how we'll look that up.
Hold on.
Fourth World Omnibus?
Yep.
Fourth World Omnibus. Survey says
Ding, ding, ding,
you can get one for $91 at Target.
Oh.
No, wait a minute. That's not the Omnibus. Or is it? Yeah, list price $150, $91. New unread, no front hardcover. What?
No front hard. Oh, people are selling their stripped copies.
New unread book, just no front cover. So people, yeah.
People are selling them off.
And he's basically got it hidden by the
the dust cover.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. How much is he selling his stripped copy for?
He has 65 on it. Hang on, let's take a look at some other ones here. No, that's a paperback. Yeah. Other people have it, 162 brand new, but I can't tell if it's the error one or not. I don't know if there is a way to tell. The new one's not out
yet. The new one's not out yet.
Okay, so it would have to be the error one. So they look like they're running around retail. There's somebody with $109. So this guy's got 3 available. So maybe he's just trying to get rid of them. Brand new. So as of now, yeah, it doesn't look like there's much to it.
Okay.
Just kind of wading through it because there's a lot of other Fourth World Omnibus, not the big one, but just some of the other ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say, go ahead, rip it off, get a new one, and, that way you enjoy reading it. And then, I'll buy the beat-up one from you.
Okay.
Or you can do like you did with the Amazing Spider-Man. Just donate it to the charity booth. That'll be at the MSP Comic-Con 2018, May 19th and 20th. At the Minnesota State Fairgrounds in the grandstand, the grandest stand of them all. And, of course, I think advance tickets may be on sale. They got everything up on their website, guests, exhibitors, dealers. If you have any information or you're still trying to get in, mcbacomiccons.com. And if you're interested in donating something for the charity booth for one of the 2 charities that they're working with, just get a hold of me. We'll have our emails and that towards the end of the podcast with our sponsor stuff, or you can just drop me a quick note, crazycomics@gmail.com, and we'll figure out a way how to get your goodies to give for charity, and I'll figure out a way to get a tax form back to you. So you got that going for you.
Which is nice.
It's very nice.
Although, Joe, do people still get... if you donate to charity, I heard that starting in next year, on your taxes for next year, you don't get it to take it off your taxes.
It's possible. Especially if the standard deduction's bigger, but you got to talk to your tax guy about that, because I'm sure there's going to be plenty of charities beating on their congressman saying, "What the hell did you just do to us?"
Oh, they already are.
Yeah.
But Coke money talks.
Yeah. Coke up your congressman.
And I'm going to ask, even though, you probably... I remember how you shot me down last week.
Bango.
You shot me down. Bang, bang. I hit the ground.
You did.
Bang, bang. My baby shot me.
You are a very poor McFoley.
Did you see Black Panther?
Funny thing was, because this whole conversation started about people that weren't interested in it. And I got these guys at work who are just big core Marvel guys. And they're just, not interested. They didn't want to go. Me, on the other hand, I did go. I went with my lovely wife. My daughters went ahead of us because, of course, they have no life and no obligations. So, and they both
Wait, they have
absolutely
jobs?
loved the Black Panther. Absolutely loved it. My wife, again, what's nice about her is she's not a comic fan, so you can kind of gauge what she likes by, um, from the eye of a non-comic person. She thought the costuming was great. She absolutely loved the scenery. The action was great. The story kind of left her flat, and she's still not sold on the actor doing the Black Panther.
Oh, really?
Me, when I saw it, I was kind of disappointed in a way because the way the talk was about it, that this was going to be a wow movie. Wow movies for me are the original Star Wars, the first Spider-Man, the first Avengers, movies that I see that just blow my mind. And I enjoyed the movie, but it wasn't a wow movie, so I was a little disappointed in that. Pretty much echo the same thing. I did enjoy the actor that played Black Panther. I thought it was really cool. I got a few nits to pick, but I want to hear, Cory, what did you think of the movie?
First off, every so often I will go and see on Box Office Mojo how it's doing. It's $506 million so far.
That's a flop. Flop.
After 18 days, it is the number 10 grossing movie in the U.S. of all time. And it's worldwide is 909 million. So it's, it was still number one last weekend. So I have a feeling it's going to break $1 billion this week.
Cool.
And it could be the highest grossing Marvel movie of all time. I like how much from the comic that they put into this, including specific scenes such as Killmonger throwing Black Panther off the falls is direct from a Don McGregor comic. The stuff about the Dora Milaje, direct from the Christopher Priest stuff. The Black Panther's sister is from the Reggie Hudlin stuff. And I loved every character in the movie. I thought every character was given a reason and a purpose. And a lot of times, a lot of the secondary characters are just there because they're there and they're there. But every character in the movie seemed to have a reason and a purpose. They used so much of the mythos from the comic that it made me very, very happy to see that sort of stuff. The heart-shaped herb. They made Wakanda more science fiction-y than even Kirby did, which I liked. I also liked the fact that they went back to the fact that this is a hidden kingdom. And the rest of the world thinks it's one of the most dirt-poor countries in the world. I can see people... Remember back when Grant Morrison did the X-Men and they had the Magneto was right shirts?
Yeah.
I can see people wearing Killmonger was right shirts. Your villain needs to think that he's the hero. And in this story, they did a perfect job of that. This is Marvel's best villain in any of the movies. He was complex. He had a reason for what he was doing. He felt he was right. He had a plan rather than just, I'm going to be evil. There was a richness and a texture to the story. And for me, it was 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it felt like a half hour. The action sequences, I love the action sequences for one reason that most action sequences in movies anymore pisses me off. They showed the fight. It wasn't, a quick cut, quick cut, quick cut, quick cut, quick cut. Nope. These were long fights where you saw the battle. You could tell what was going on. And the battle in the casino was one of the best cinematic fight scenes I've ever seen. The car chase was amazing. I could have watched another half hour of that car chase. It was so well done. Um, it felt epic. It felt like a big story. They also had a lot of humor in it. And I, the thing that I really, every time I think about it, I just go back to is how deep and rich the characters were. They made Manape an interesting character, Joe. They've never made Manape an interesting character in the comics. Manape was an interesting character. They captured the essence of Killmonger while still rooting it a little more in the American thing. They captured the essence of how Don McGregor created Killmonger. Killmonger, when he came to Wakanda, was like, your king has abandoned you. He's spending all this time in America. Why are you letting him do this? And he has a coup d'etat. In this, Killmonger shows up and is like, no, I have the right to challenge the king. And he won. Your villain needs to be
he didn't
rich.
win. That's what allowed the king to come back.
Right.
He just thought he won. And that was kind of the... Because that was one of the parts that
Well,
I'm curious
that was
about.
a Dusty finish. That was a Dusty Rhodes finish.
No, because I mean...
Bad guy won. Oh, the good guy came back at the end.
But that was also part of the original one. The first time we see him and Manape fighting, he submits.
Right.
And then the next time, he just assumed he won because he tossed Black Panther off the cliff, which was a bad assumption on his part because that allowed him to come back and say, no, we never resolved this. It wasn't finished. You know, and had they said earlier, again, that's one of those little pickety things. You could say, well, you know, it ends in submission or death. Well, neither happened. He didn't die. He didn't submit. Therefore, the challenge is still going on. You know, and there were a couple other little ones too, like that. You know, when you got to the end, and I'm trying to think of the actor's name who played Killmonger. That, yeah. Oh, Michael B. Jordan. Did you buy that he just killed himself? That kind of came out of left field.
No, he didn't kill himself. He lost the fight and chose not to be saved.
I didn't buy his reasoning. I mean,
did.
I didn't, because nowhere else during the movie did it, you know, say he would rather be dead than captured. You know, I mean, it wasn't. To me, it was just. This is just a common complaint I have with Marvel movies. You get a very interesting villain, and you kill him off. Yeah, you want to do that, I suppose, because you don't want Michael B. Jordan being the villain forever. Although it would have been cool to see him come back. And for all we know, he could come back. We didn't see what happened to the body. You know, say Chikala was a sneaky mother and put him in
saved him anyway.
Saved him anyways. But just that particular ending, I was disappointed. I thought it was a cop-out. And Marvel does that with all their villains. I thought it was a cop-out even when the Claw died. Because, you know, he brought a lot of humor to the role, and I could see him coming back. But...
Oh, you could bring him back as the supervillain in a heartbeat. That would be hard.
Yeah, you could do it anyways. But if you're going to kill these... If you're going to kill that works for you and me because we're comic book fans. But I asked my wife about that, and she says, no, I'm not going to buy that. If he's dead, he's dead. And you're just going to bring him back, then what's the point? You kind of undermine the whole movie. If, you know, his great death scene didn't mean shit because he comes back. So to me, I was disappointed that they chose to kill Killmonger. It was such an awesome villain. Like you said, he was right. And in his mind, and there are some people probably even thinking, I mean, look what they did at the end of the movie. He was right. He just went about it the wrong way. Because then Chikala decided to take up what his cousin said and reveal Wakanda to the world. And we are going to help you, even though they're like, oh, how are you going to help us? You're so dirt poor. You know? So again, I was disappointed with that. That was probably really the biggest nit I had with the movie. The only other one I thought of really, and I guess my wife said they did refer to it, but when he says, we're going to take over the world, I'm like, Yeah, he's probably been sleeping somewhere because he probably has no idea who the Avengers are. Nobody even brought that up to him. Like, oh, there are powers out there that will confront us. And now, they talked about it in terms of nation states. Yeah, the United States and Soviet ain't necessarily going to love Wakanda trying to take them over. But you got the Avengers out there. And even if he had just said, I have a plan to deal with them, just a quick throwaway line. And again, you don't want to put it in there because then it throws away the beautiful part of the movie that it's essentially standalone movie. The
Yes.
little throwaway. But if it's part of the universe, he could have just referred to it. I have plans to deal with that. Whether it didn't matter because we'll never know what the plans were. Or even he could boast they will not be able to withstand our might. So, because that brings up a third nit. And I didn't realize this until the end. I was kind of like surprised that they actually had, the Winter Soldier show up at the end. It was kind of neat. But
Well, at the end of Civil War, that's where they took him.
but I didn't catch that.
Oh,
I thought they were in a SHIELD facility, or what was left of the Avengers facility.
no.
Yeah. And my buddy Eric told me that. I said, no, they were in Wakanda. And it's like, oh, that totally changes it. But then it makes another net. Where was Captain America in all this?
We will find out in the Avengers 3.
Yeah. And again, you don't want to refer to it necessarily because, again, it's the beauty of Marvel movies. These are standalone movies. Even if you went and saw Black Panther and loved it and you didn't care about any other Marvel movie, I'd really have to question you because, he showed up in Civil War and he's going to be a major part in Infinity War coming up. So, but again, my little nits, and like I said, one of them wasn't really a nit. It was just me not paying attention to the end of Civil War. Anything that you would have tweaked in the movie?
I want to see the 4-hour cut.
Oh, really?
I guess the first cut that he delivered was 4 hours long.
Wow.
So I doubt we will ever see it, but boy, wouldn't that be cool. And with a movie making this much money, you could sell that DVD. You could sell that Blu-ray.
I'm already on it. What were the sales on like Batman, Superman, uncut or whatever it was?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I'd be curious to see how that did.
Because I don't track. We used to be you would track stuff like that. The only thing you ever see now is Redbox every week will put in the paper what the top 20 renting movies are. I suppose, Amazon has, the top whatever, but that's right now at this moment.
Yeah, see, we used to get that in that newspaper I got back when I had Hot Comics, because you would
back when there was a video rental business.
And they would tell you, what the top ones are and that. So, in terms of see it again, wait for Netflix, or definitely going to buy the DVD, what would you put this one on?
Oh, I've already ordered the DVD. Actually, I've already ordered the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I went to Amazon and said, let me know when that Blu-ray is coming out.
See, and I'm kind of like, I want to see who's got the cooler extra features. Because
I just want it at my door the day it comes out.
No. I will have it the day it comes out, but I also want to, if Target has extra features or Best Buy or Walmart has an extra goodie with it, that's what I want. And I will mention that when we get to Freaking too.
I would also like to recommend some Black Panther trade paperbacks for the people who saw the movie and want more.
And that's actually something that would be useful because my wife said the Mayor of St. Paul asked her, what Black Panther books should I buy? And she wanted to recommend it. So while you're talking, I'm going to be writing these things down.
All right, the first one to pick up is the Black Panther Epic Collection #1, Panther's Rage. It has the first 2 stories from the Fantastic Four. It skips over all the stuff with where he joined the Avengers, and then he changed his name for a few years, and he became a social worker in New York. Skips all that and goes right to Jungle Action, reprints the entire run of Jungle Action by Don McGregor. and it's the Marvel Epic Collection. So it's Black Panther Epic Collection Volume 1, Panther's Rage. Then they have reprinted the Panther's Quest that just came out, and that was the 25-part story that was in Marvel Comics Presents, where the Black Panther goes into South Africa to find his mother. So I would recommend those two. I love me some Jack Kirby. You know I love me some Jack Kirby.
Oh, yeah.
I would not recommend the Jack Kirby Black Panther stuff to people who want to see Black Panther because of the movie. Because it's very strange. I'm going through and writing up my notes for a series in review. Yeah, if you like the movie, you're going to read the Kirby stuff and go, what? Golden frogs that travel through time, a man from 6 billion years in the future, the 3 black keteers? Huh?
Hey, come on! Those were the first appearances of those characters. First appearance of Abner Little. Sorry, first appearance of Princess Zanda. Sorry, I'm having trouble with this. Hatch 22, King Solomon's Frog, Salias Morner. Those were first appearances. Oh, by the way, if you have a mint copy of that, it's guided at about 140. However, they're selling upwards of 500.
Oh yeah.
And if you have a Fantastic
anything
Four,
Black Panther's gone nuts.
Oh yeah, if you have anything Fantastic Four, the highest non-graded one is $800, and those are very fine. If you get anything higher, I mean, and I don't know if they're really worth this. I mean, but there's people with a 9.6 asking $25,000 for it.
Yeah.
Which again, it may be the highest graded one. I know you can go to CGC and find out what the highest grade is. But yeah, the ship has left the station on this one, people.
For the Christopher Priest run, which was part of Marvel Knights, they've actually got the a 4-book complete collection. I didn't care for Christopher Priest's run as much as other people. But if you do want to try it, pick up the first volume, because that's where the CIA agent comes from. He's kind of the character that introduces you to the world of the Black Panther. It's also the Dora Milaje. Reggie Hudlin, who movie producer and the guy who created BET, he did a run of Black Panther. That's the one where Black Panther got married to Storm.
Oh my!
Yeah, you can skip that.
That was okay, but they, like you said, they don't know how to write married characters.
Well,
they can shoehorn the continuity that, they knew each other since they were young. And
it was a stupid story. Volume 5.
The wedding was fun. I like that wedding issue.
Volume 5 is another one you can skip. The Man Without Fear, Most Dangerous Man Alive. When they finished up the Shadowland story, they gave Daredevil over to Black Panther. Huh? Go ahead, skip that. But the Volume 6 by Ta-Nehisi Coates, that's one that people should pick up now. You've got the first 3 trade paperbacks are A Nation Under Our Feet. They are connected, but it's better to pick up Black Panther Volume 1, which reprints the first 12 issues. And there is also a Black Panther annual out that I will be talking about in Geeking, but it has a new story by Christopher Priest, a new story by Tom McGregor, and a new story by Reggie Hudlin that kind of touches on their runs. But those are the ones I recommend. I recommend the most recent run. I recommend Tom McGregor's run. And if you're going to pick up the stuff in between, I would pick up the Black Panther by Christopher Priest, the Complete Collection, Volume 1. And if you like that, you could get the other ones. But I imagine every comic shop worth their salt's got as many Black Panther books as possible. If you are looking to be a collector in the hardcover realm, Black Panther Marvel Masterworks, Volume 1, was the thickest Marvel Masterwork up until the one that's going to be coming out that I will also talk about in Geeking. And it sold out pretty quick. And And I remember even 2 years ago when Don McGregor was looking for one, it was selling for $200 and $300. I can't even imagine what it's selling for now.
What was that? What's the title on that one?
The Black Panther, Marvel Masterworks Black Panther Volume 1.
All right, I will look that one up. So I have a question for you, Mr. Strode.
Sure.
Who could defeat the Black Panther?
Which version?
Well, the current one. Because right now it sounds like he's whooped on Spider-Man, Captain America, Kazar, Cyclops, Wolverine, Beast, Luke Cage, Karnak, Deadpool, all the New Warriors, all the Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Namor, and the Silver Surfer.
Which is why I don't much care for how they're writing the character now.
I
like Don McGregor's version of the character? Because he got his ass kicked and he still fought back. I'm reading the Panther's Quest. I mean, he's getting injured, fighting after they have the scene where he goes through a plate glass window, and in any movie you've ever seen, somebody goes through a plate glass window, they just stand up and keep going. Nope, he's all cut up because that's what would happen. The Panther he felt real when Don McGregor wrote him because he got hurt and would still try to fight through the pain. The new version, he's the smartest character, one of the smartest characters in the Marvel Universe, and can think of a way to beat everybody.
All right, Marvel Masterworks seem to be under $100.
Really, the first one?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there's a guy who has 100 down to 74. And the only person I could think of would be Squirrel Girl. So nobody.
Well, remember, it's the unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
Yep. He can't beat her.
And that's one of my favorite things. I'm on this website called Quora, which is where people ask questions and anybody can answer. And whenever anybody asks a question about Squirrel Girl, can blah, blah, blah beat Squirrel Girl, Will Murray, the creator of Squirrel Girl, will answer the question. And he just shows up and says, her name is the unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
Galactus talks to her. The only other person I know he'll talk to is Reed Richards.
She defeated Thanos in continuity.
Yep.
And in her regular series, they explain why, because she's a super genius.
I also think her and Wolverine had a little going on. Although when they
Which Wolverine?
Well, I mean, obviously both. The old one years ago and the current one who just popped out of adamantium, I guess.
So there you go. You know who doesn't have any Black Panther books to sell, but you should love them anyway?
Probably you, because you never sell your stuff.
Well, that's true, but also these guys, our sponsors.
Hooray!
That's right. Here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network, we have ads, and our first sponsor is me. That's right. Your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. I have my first book out with Dangerous Dan Moore. It's the first 100 strips of our online web strip, Worldwide News, the story of the lowest rated cable news network. And you can get yourself a copy with commentary, with all sorts of extras, with signatures and everything. Just email Dan over at lordshadowflame@gmail.com. Our top sponsor, who's been with us since day one, is DreamHost. DreamHost.com. You need yourself a website, and DreamHost.com is the #1 web host in the whole known universe. Just head over to DreamHost.com, put in the code CRAYZ, KRAYZ, get $20 off your first year. How can you beat that? Our other sponsor is Graze, GRAZE.com. Healthy snacks for a healthy lifestyle. Just head over to Graze, put in the code CORYS3R5P. Your first and fifth box are free. You could get them weekly. You could get them bi-weekly. You could get them monthly. You could just order a whole bunch of them. It's great stuff to keep you away from the vending machine at work. Now, if you would like to leave a comment for any of the podcasts that we do, we'd love those. Go ahead and email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, or you can call 952-856-0519. Operators are standing by. Okay, it's just a place that will record your calls, but we'll play them on the air. We'll answer your questions. We love getting feedback. Tell us what you think. Ask a question. Suggest a topic. Be a guest. Send us your stuff. SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. If you would like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose radio shows, you can. Just email us at SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. Subject advertising. Thanks. And after we do the sponsors, we talk about what's coming up on the Solitaire Rose Network, and it's a whole bunch of stuff, and I haven't had time to do much of anything. So, Joe, what's going on the eBays?
Oh, well, I've been actually loading up a bunch of stuff. I found a box of sets that survived the purge, so I put them up, and some of them actually have sold already. One of them was the Avengers and X-Men Axis 1 through 9. And the thing is a lot of these books are really, they're not, well, let's just say I'm probably selling it below what I paid for it. But, it's part of blowing them out. So one of those went. Roots of the Swamp Thing, 1 through 5, which reprints the first series. This was a reprint back in 86, so it was kind of fun. Batman 66 meets The Man from U.N.C.L.E. 1 through 6. That's a set that was up and gone. Frank Miller's RoboCop 1 through 9, and some of these series I've actually talked about in the past, so you could dig them up, and I'll refer to what I thought about them years ago. And I sold a comic, Cory, you would never believe would have sold. And Cory, you may have to put on your thinking cap for this one.
Samurai Santa?
No, still up. Actually, I don't think I put my copy up yet.
I don't.
Giant Size Union of Justice.
Is that a David Watkins book?
It is. Back when he did Mason Comics back in 1996. One of our good friends of ours. He's very shy and elusive, unless, of course, he's behind his keyboard. Then he's definitely not shy. But I've actually asked him if he wanted to be interviewed on the podcast, just to let us know what he's up to. But he's, no, I don't want to do that crap. Dude, I'm right here. Just call it shit.
Dude, but, we're right here.
I actually have copies of his comic, and they're none on eBay, so I just put it up. Thought, what the heck? Put it up, see what people think. They can go to Atomic Avenue and see about it. And I actually sold a copy of Union of Justice, my only copy. Well, not the one he signed for me, but you'll find all sorts of fun stuff on eBay. Some days you just got to sit back and relax and look and see what you can find. And as a dear listener of our show, if you do see something that you're interested in, let me know. I'll either put something in, like if I reached out and the first thing I grabbed, I have a Spawn eraser back from when Al Simmons, the real life Al Simmons, used to tour in the Spawn costume. This was one of the things he would sell off. It's just a regular eraser with the Spawn logo on it. A little dirty.
I remember those.
Yeah, I have one. I don't think I've ever used it. And if I did, I'm just looking at the corners. It's pretty intact. Probably end up putting that on eBay if somebody's interested. Or I may ship it to you free of charge. I may actually include a copy of Worldwide News, because I have a bunch that Cory didn't give me to sell. So I'll bring those probably to the charity booth. That'll be at the MCBA Comic Con coming up this May 19th and 20th. MCBAComicCons.com. Meanwhile, on eBay, look for me, Krayz. Come get some.
And
way after.
And after Joe talks about what's going on the eBays,
I did.
It's my favorite part of the show.
Oh, well,
where I explain that if I leave while they're plowing my neighborhood, if I come home, they've plowed my little parking area and put all the snow in my yard.
Well, good for you.
No. It's freaking and geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
Did I tell you about my new shift?
No, we have. You teased us
I
2 weeks
left it
ago.
up in the open. Yes. No, actually, my shift has not changed. I still have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays off, which means Cory can relax because we'll record this here podcast on first part of the week, and he'll have the better part of the weekend to brush it up and make it something worth listening to.
Wait,
Uh,
I get to relax? When do I get to do that?
that sounds like a you problem myself, but I do it, and
How do you do that?
I just I just show up, talk for an hour and a half, or listen for an hour and a half, depending if I can get you going, and then show up the following week.
What
You
is
do
this
the hard part.
relax?
You don't get to because you got like 300 jobs, a podcast, and Doublecast, worldwide news, and I'm sure you're making several type of vegan dishes, trying to connive your way into various brunettes' homes, trying to figure out how to get pie, how to clean things without getting people angry at you. You got all sorts of things you're working on. Me, I show up, do my eBays, do a podcast, and then I sit back. But definitely at work, I don't have the drama going on because they're just like I think I mentioned this a while back. The drama being that they totally eliminated the behavior detection officer's position, and some of them they put on an insider threat program. The other ones they're being squashed back into the screening force, which means a lot of people who are sitting high in seniority suddenly realize, oh my, I'm losing seniority. People are going from that have been working PMs all their career are suddenly an AM. People who've worked baggage are going to checkpoints. It's just
dogs and cats sleeping together.
Oh no, screening together, mass hysteria. But I have none of that. I've just got to sit back, nod my head, say, yeah, that's too bad. I'm going to miss working with you because, as you know, I got 7 years to go. I got to keep my head down and my mouth shut. And as you know, I have a real problem with that second part. So, but that's all done. Only other really thing freaking me, my Black is dead. At least I think it's dead. It could be just the screener thing, or not the sensor bar is kaput because my wife and I use it to watch Netflix before we go to bed, and all of a sudden the remotes stop working. I mean, everything flashes and turns on and everything. And I'm kind of like, being as I don't use it as a Wii, I just use it for Netflix. I'm like, rather than spend the money on a sensor bar, I figure I'll just go out and buy another Roku. And I'm not even sure what they are anymore. I think they got something called a Roku Ultimate or something. But
yeah.
Is that what was a Roku 3? I don't know.
It's a little better than a Roku 3, but is this in the main room or?
This would probably be in the bedroom.
Then I would just go with the Roku stick.
You think? Yeah,
yeah,
all we're going to do is, I mean, we're not adding special channels like I've done on the main one. Netflix, Hulu, those seem to be the big two we watch,
Yeah, you don't need the streaming stick's all you need.
Oh, cool. That'll make that choice easier.
And cheaper.
Yes, because I was looking at that Ultimate. You know me, I want to go top of the line. I don't have a Roku 3. It's an Ultimate. Boy, if they sold a Roku Omnibus, that'd be it for me.
Well, you'd complain about how stupid they are and then buy one and think it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, that's very true. That's pretty much it for freaking. How about you, Mr. Strode? What's got you down in the dumps?
These aren't things that have me down in the dumps. They're things that have kind of annoyed me.
Uh-oh. Hang on, I'll snap. Hang on, let me sit back. Okay.
All right, in previews, it's time for me to finally say this.
Uh-oh.
No more Trump comic books. No more Trump parody comics. No, stop it.
Stop.
There are so many of these that are coming out now that it's almost like the black and white boom of the mid-'80s. No. And also, your Trump comic, I'm going to tell you something. You're lucky if it sells 700 copies. You don't need 15 fucking covers.
Yeah,
stop it.
Normal covers. No fucking.
Second, I picked up the Betty Page comic. I like my Betty Page. I thought she was quite a cute gal.
Did I tell you I sold the naked variant online?
Ooh, yeah. Well.
Came up on the number one.
Did you read it?
No, because the naked one was polybagged, so I didn't get to read it.
You're lucky because it's crap.
Oh.
It's Betty Page in the 50s was actually a secret agent. and it's it's basically somebody draws Betty Page doing just spy stuff and getting into fights, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. It's just bad. It's just bad, and it needs to stop. DC announcing that there's going to be a new Sandman line, and then they've got the Young Animals line. And now they're going to have all these alternate universe lines. And there's DC is going to have I think if they go through with everything they're planning, they're going to have 8 different comics lines by the end of the year. How long till we get a crisis that brings them all together? Because people are going to go, which fucking Batman is this? How many Batmans are there? Stop it. Just stop it. Okay, stop. You're confusing me.
You got my stomach
upset. It's hard
upset.
to confuse me.
And Cory can follow the pre-crisis DC universe. That's how confused you got him. A piece of cake. He knows the difference between his Earth X and his Earth S.
That's right. Earth X was where the Nazis won World War II.
Oh, I hate Nazis.
And Earth S was where all the Shazam characters
were. Oh, Gomer Pyle. Shazam, Shazam, Shazam.
And also, Marvel has announced that they're going to be starting a new Black Panther #1, where the Black Panther is the head of an intergalactic empire.
I'm sorry, man. I just felt the brain cell pop. What?
Yeah. Okay, you've just had a hugely successful movie. So people are going to go to the comic shop and they're going to pick up this Black Panther #1. And rather than it being about a guy who's the king of Wakanda and dealing with the kind of stuff that's in the movie, nope, he's running a space empire. I don't tell Marvel that they need to be exactly like the movies, but that's one of the dumbest goddamn ideas I've heard in a long goddamn time.
You're killing a tree for that?
So, it's not that it's got me down in the dumps. It just makes me go, oh, well, that deserves to sell like shit.
Well, the world needs quarterbacks too.
So, Joe, what did you like over the last week? What are you geeking on?
You know, I actually have a pretty big-size geek list. So let me just make some room here. And
let me take my medication.
Yeah. You throttle down while I talk about stuff. First of all, Mr. Gruber says hello, my old partner. I actually met him for lunch last Tuesday. And
he remembers who I am?
He remembers everybody. And, you know, it's funny because we sit down and we...
Which version of me?
We talk about the pre-con Cory, you know, the one before you retired. But we sit down, we go to a small piece.
That's the Cory of Earth 1.
In the Minnesota, somewhere in the Minneapolis Skyway near the Fauché Tower, there's and I don't know if you've been in the Fauché Tower thing there at the foot. They actually made it from just a blank, sterile spot that people run through, where they actually put tables and games and some lights and some decent chairs, and they refurbished it. So it's actually kind of a neat little common area, and they do some stuff. We get together, we talk. You know, most of the time it's, you know, we're both getting to be old farts. You know, we don't buy as many comics as we do. Pat, you know, we talk about the graphic novels we're picking up. Pat's been selling off a lot of his original art, I think on Comic Vine. He was going to give me some details, but he didn't send them anything. But this, I mean, you're talking, this is the $1,000 plus stuff, not the, you know, piddly stuff that I dabble in. He's got some serious runs of things, and he's just getting to the point where he doesn't need it all. And, you know, he probably goes out and buys something even more outrageously expensive. So, but he says hello. Let's see. I was a little bummed to hear about the passing away of David Ogden Stiers, the actor, of course, who played Major Charles Emerson Winchester III on MASH. And, of course, it's always a delight when I'm bouncing through various things and you run across an actor who you've actually admired in one role and see him in a different role, or her in a totally different role, such as when he played a character in a Star Trek Next Generation show called Half a Life.
Yes.
In celebration of that, my wife and I put pause on Hogan's Heroes. We dug up some old MASH episodes, and then I had her sit down and watch this one. And I gotta say, it was really a talky episode, much like Star Trek, because you had not only I found it a fascinating episode because you have I can't think of her name, Mrs. Roddenberry, Majol Barrett.
Yeah, Major Barrett.
Thank you.
Loxana Troy.
And then you have David Ogen Steers as his love interest, but she's not playing the goofy mom that we're used to. Although the episode starts out with Deanna Troy, personal log, my mom's on board, or maybe mother, I forget what she calls. But the whole thing as it is apparently David's character is of a race where they go and at age 60 they celebrate their life and commit suicide. But it's a ritual suicide. It's not like gruesome. And that, of course, is so totally against everything that everybody else stands for. And there's a lot of philosophical discussion. And I could see my wife's eyes glazing over. And she was like, that wasn't one of the best. And I said, what? See, that's what Star Trek is. Star Trek can take that particular theme and talk about it. And when I believe when the episode first came out, there was a big hubbub about, was it Dr. Kevorkian and his suicide machine?
Yes. Yep.
And, again, I have two major diseases that I'm never getting rid of, diabetes and rheumatoid arthritis. And I've seen people wither and die from rheumatoid arthritis. And in some ways, I agree with the character that Mr. Steers played on Star Trek, that wouldn't it be better, say I get to 70 and just let's have a celebration of my life. You remember me as I am, as opposed to watching me wither away where I can't walk, I can't move, my mind goes. I mean, especially people that have dementia. I mean, I've got some personal friends whose significant other is going through that, having dementia. Isn't it better just to, be able to choose to go out? Or is the sanctity of life important enough where we just shouldn't be giving it away so freely that you should stick around? I told my wife, you were talking about Star Trek V earlier, and that's what got me thinking. There's a real powerful scene in Star Trek V where, what is your deepest regret? And when they get into McCoy's, this is one that stuck with me, regardless of the rest of the movie. He talks about how his father, who was a physician, had this space disease that just crippled him. And he begged Dr. McCoy to end his life, and he did. And then, of course, they said, but that's not the regret. And he goes, no, 5 years later, they discovered a cure for that. And that was such a powerful part of what McCoy is, because he's always for life. And granted, it was in a very terrible movie, but, just one of those things. And I told my wife, that's the beauty of what Star Trek is. It's not a big action flick that comes out every 2 years. The fact that they can take a serious social issue and, hide it between two aliens, whether it's, a black woman and a white man kissing, or, Frank Gorshin's got white on one side, black on the other, and his partner's got it opposite. And, or space hippies. By God, we need to return to space hippies in Star Trek Discovery. I'm telling you.
Oh. When I did my Star Trek rewatch, that was the only one I couldn't make it through. I made it about halfway through, and I went, "This just hurts. This actually hurts to watch.
What did they call Kirk when you're
Herbert?
I think we should start yelling that out in public randomly. So, anyways, rip David.
Sorry, I already have something I yell out in public randomly, Joe.
Heck, I even liked David when he was in Doc Hollywood. What's that dude's name from Back to the Future? He was in that one.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. It was kind of just fun to see him have a little bit and play a different character. But what do you yell in public, Cory?
You will be deleted. Delete.
If I'm walking with him, I'm like, exterminate. Exterminate. I did get to read some stuff. I read the almost complete run of Proof. And if you excuse me a second here, because my, I have everything preloaded on the computer, and then when I'm ready to talk about it, it kind of dies on me. But Proof the premise of Proof is twofold. It's an Image comic that came out 2007 to 2011. The first is supernatural creatures called cryptids exist. The second is that one of them works for the federal government, and it happens to be Agent John Prufrock, or Proof, more commonly known as Bigfoot. Fortunately for us, Proof likes humans and works with them to find these other cryptids and protect them. And what's fun with the series, it's by Alexander Grecian and Riley Rossmo, is as you're going through it, he stops and he adds things called cryptoids, where he explains the process. He does a script, the artwork's done, and then wherever it fits, it doesn't impede with the artwork, he puts a little cryptoid where he talks about different facts of what's going on. And the facts are either about cryptoids or just about different other things. And I've had the series for a while. I've had 1 through 5, and I got down to read it, and it is a awesome miniseries. I guess it did actually come to an end, so I guess it's more of a series that's ended. There is an Image Proof #1 if you want to go pick it up for $1 and give it a try. What kind of bummed me out is I thought I had the complete run, but I guess he ended up doing 28 issues of the first one and then finished it up with a series called Proof Endangered. And I don't have that, so I've got to go find it. And I did do some running around today looking for it. I'll talk about that in a little bit. The only other thing I read is Gemstone Publishing for the, I think it was a 2006, went out with something called Walt Disney Treasuries. And I picked up the Uncle Scrooge A Little Something Special, 60 Years of Comic Riches, which was a limited series where the Gemstone reprinted rare material, a lot of it for the first time seen in the U.S. and Canada. And they talk a little bit about Uncle Scrooge, how he appeared in the beginning, just a grumpy old fart, and how they kind of changed him, especially as it got forward into the DuckTale years. And, they have some stuff by Carl Barks and by Don Rosa, who I absolutely loved. They have some other stories by some Italian artists. I'm not going to try to slaughter their names. They even did one from, I didn't really like it as much. It was, I'm trying to find it here. Let's see, because it was done in a Daisy Duck comic. And the gist of the story is that one of Daisy's friends is going outright crazy trying to get Uncle Scrooge to marry her. And let's see if I can find that character's name. And this, of course, is told Uncle Scrooge with that business lady, Bridget McBridge. And, of course, she's trying all sorts of schemes, and the art's a little more simplistic, and it's nowhere near the level, in my opinion, of Carl Barks or Don Rosa. And then, of course, it ends with a fun story, Whatever Happened to Scrooge McDuck, a story by Lars Jensen, art by Maximino Torrejada Aguilar, obviously from printing, because apparently they printed a lot of stuff for various markets, and I think that's what a lot of Gemstone print, and I don't know if IDW is doing that, and I think IDW is doing it currently. Stuff that was done just for the Italian market or just done for the Spanish market, and these are things that were never seen before. Carl Barks ruled the U.S. market. I just found it fascinating, the little bit of history behind that, how a lot of these stories we've never seen because they weren't meant for U.S. market. Just kind of a weird business model that Disney had back then. The book, of course, out of print, very hard to find. And, of course, IDW is printing them now, so Lord knows what they've got over there. I mentioned I ran around a bit. I had a couple coupons, so I went to Barnes & Noble. I went to Half Price. I went over to The Source. From Barnes & Noble, I've got one of their memberships for 10% off. So for a whopping 30% off, I picked up a hardcover. Best Seat in the House, Your Backstage Pass Through My WWE Journey by Justin Roberts. Justin Roberts was he dreamed of being a ring announcer in WWF, obviously, now WWE, of course. And this talks about his rise to it. I guess he became an announcer, and I don't. Is he still with them at all? I mean, I'm way, you talk about how many months are you behind in WWE?
Only a month now.
I haven't watched it since last year's WrestleMania. So, and it's WrestleMania season. I got to get caught up. So I figured this was a fun book. I looked at it, and I figured he wasn't with WWE because it was published by Meyer and Meyer Sports. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I, too, picked up the landmark final issue of Mad just because I guess there's a new Mad #1 dropping in April, but I just picked it up just for nostalgia's sake. While I was at half price, I found a couple books. First one was in the clearance rack. It's called Ashes by Mario Calendara and Carl Slominski. When a New York firefighter, Matt Terwilliger, suffers an injury on the job, he struggles to overcome the new obstacles thrown in his way. During the journey to rebuild his life, he discovers true friends and his true self. You had me at a New York firefighter because, of course, my dad was a firefighter, as was my grandfather. This book looks like it was self-published, so I don't have a creator. It was probably a Kickstarter at one time, and it doesn't have a what do you call them, UPC code on it, or ISBN code number.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know about it when I read it. And then, of course, I picked up Tales from the Clerks, the complete collection of comic stories from the Kevin Smith universe, which features Dante and Randall, Jay and Silent Bob, Bumpman and Chronix, plus Where's the Beef, an all-new supersized story detailing Dante and Randall's jolting journey from the convenience store of Quick Stop to the megacorp of movies. So a lot of these I've read, but it's kind of fun just to have it all in one particular book, because then I can, sell off the comics and sell off the other books if I want. I've fetched about my meds that, because of a change in health insurance, my meds got delayed for a month. Well, I finally got them, and I'm almost giddy to say my pain is almost gone. Usually when I have a rheumatoid arthritis flare-up, it takes a week or two for the pain to go away. And I'm talking, this is just like solid on a scale 1 to 10 pain, probably a 3. Just, it's there all the time, no matter what I do. Right now, I don't notice it. I mean, when I bend my fingers, I still feel it. So I'm just happy that, I got my meds back finally, and the first dose actually made a big, big difference, because I was looking forward to the next month of slowly it disappearing. So it's kind of fun, but it's also kind of distraught that I'm on this shit for life, because if not, I probably won't be able to have a life. Speaking of life, tomorrow's box day. Woohoo! So I got that going for me.
Which is nice.
It's nice. Corey, what do you got going for you? What are you geeking on?
First off, I had some time over the weekend, and I was going to do something productive, but instead, I watched Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2.
That's fun stuff.
The first season was a lot of fun, and the second season was more fun. You're dealing with Deadites and time travel, and Ash's dad, played by Lee Majors, and all sorts of stuff. I love
Lee Majors.
It's very twisted. It's incredibly bloody, and very funny. There were some scenes that even I had to go, oh, I can't look. And season 3 just started up on Stars. I have Stars, but I watched season 2 on Netflix because it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that they finished that. And I just started watching it because I don't want to sit down. There are times when I just want something that's like a 30-minute show. Because it's like, okay, I'm going to watch this, and then I'm going to go do blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, oh, I'll just watch another one. Oh, I'll just watch another one. Then it's like, oh, crap, now I got to go to work. But nope, I buzzed through all 10 episodes. I already talked about one of the announcements for the Marvel Clean Sweep, and that is Mark Waid on Doctor Strange. I am so excited about Mark Waid on Doctor Strange. He did a mini-series back a while back when they kept trying to kickstart Doctor Strange, but he said this is his first extended run on the character. And I like everything Mark Waid does. I have yet to read a story by Mark Waid where I went, oh, that sucked. So I'm not like 99% of the internet. In Amazing Spider-Man, I love the Red Goblin. Red Goblin's one of the coolest characters in a long, long time. And yeah. Joe, have you caught up on Amazing Spider-Man?
I am hoping I get my Amazing Spider-Man in box day tomorrow.
Red Goblin is very, very cool. And then I read Skiz. Now, Joe, does Joe know what was Skiz?
Skiz?
Yes.
No idea.
Skiz was a story that Alan Moore and Jim Bakey did back in 2000 AD about an alien who crash lands on Earth and is trying to get home. And he thought up the story around the same time as E.T. came out.
Uh-oh.
So there are Alan Moore talks about how there must have been something in the air, but it's a very different story from E.T., and it's early Alan Moore. So, and Jim Bakey's art is just fantastic. But I did not know that Jim Bakey went back and did a sequel to the Alan Moore story of what happens when Skiz makes it home to the Galactic Empire he's from. And it's just mind-blowing. Because, you think Alan Moore does all this really cool stuff where he plays with the medium and blows your mind and stuff. Jim Bakey actually did a better job on the character and the story that Alan Moore did. Now, granted, again, this was early Alan Moore. But damn, I had never read the sequel, and the sequel's fantastic. And then the last thing I read that I fell in love with was the Black Panther Annual. There are 3 stories in it, each by previous Black Panther creators. First one is by Christopher Priest, who revisits the CIA agent who was teamed up with Black Panther. And it's a nice, funny story that Black Panther's not really in. And then the Reggie Hudlin story is a sequel to his This is the Future of Black Panther. And it's what he would have done if he wrote Black Panther into his old age. So in it, Black Panther's still married to Storm, and it's mediocre. But the Don McGregor story in the middle, the artist draws a lot like Gene Colan on purpose, and McGregor does an excellent job of wrapping up the one loose end from his Black Panther runs. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it was heartbreaking. Beautifully written, beautifully drawn, and the story itself is just heartbreaking. And the minute I got done, I had to email Don and go, you bastard. You wrapped it all up, and you broke my heart. The last 2 pages just broke my heart. And he said, now you know how I felt. So, so good. It's so, so good. Go out and get it. Get that annual just for that short story. The other stories are okay, but Don's is fantastic. And what I hope is that it shows the people at Marvel that he can still, he can still kick ass. He can still write a story that kicks mighty ass. And I am sleeping at the group home pretty much the rest of this month.
Yep.
So that's good, and in that I'll have more monies. Although I've heard more money, more problems.
And I'd like to test that theory if we could.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to test that theory. Well, believe it or not, kids, you have listened to us blather on about funny books that exist and don't exist for the last hour and a half.
Cool.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Who was approached by Marvel to play Black Panther in the 1990s? Even went to Columbia Pictures with a script.
Wesley Snipes.
Very good. Here's your dime.
Yay!
Go ahead, hit my music.